Hi, ladies. Hi, everyone. My name is Terri, and otherwise known as Terri. I earned that nickname. And if you see Julie J anywhere, she'll tell you why. My sobriety date is June 17th of 1998, and my home group is the College Park Triangle Group. And I do want to share, I share my sobriety date with our voice. And June 17th is a very, very special day, and I get to share that day with a very special young girl. But not only that, we have the same home group. And not only that, we have the same sponsor. Oh my gosh. I've known Katie for years and years. And now all this, it's all come together. The fabric, the threads of our lives, where we start, in the middle, I almost die, and now I'm here today. And I look out, I have spent the day today just breathing all of you in today. And it was so wonderful. None of you knew I was the speaker. It was so awesome to just be one amongst you. I don't know any more than any of you here. You have the same experience that I'm about to share. I am not unique. I suffer from a disease called alcoholism, just like you have. But like Becky said, I get to make a decision. Today, I get to make a decision. Am I going to die an alcoholic death? Or am I going to choose a spiritual life? This journey is so simple. And I just also want all of you to just take a moment. Just breathe. What a miracle that we are all together tonight. It doesn't matter if you had to leave the meeting just now and go sip something. If you had some alcohol, I get it. I get it. You came back, you're in the seat. God bless you. We're glad you're here. Doesn't matter. I don't know how the miracle happened in my sick soul for me to be willing to do something different. And in my journey, I just have to tell you right now, it's really kind of funny. When you used to drink and drive? Which I didn't do. I'm kind of a dum-dum because I didn't think I drank and drive until I got with you guys, and then all of a sudden you made me a drunk driver. The truth hurts sometimes. But you know how you used to have to drive down the road going like this so you could tell where it was? Well, now God has a sense of humor because I've just taken my glasses off and all of a sudden the room has doubled in people. I have double vision now. Medically, not... Oh gosh. And so, there you are. And so, but I can't read with these. Because, anyway, and so if I switch, it's because there's something important I want to read. So please forgive, I'm not trying to do a juggling act. I'm not trying to be a clown or funny or anything. But the double vision is a problem. And I'm so glad there's a solution for that. And you know what's so interesting about that? Once I started realizing that when I was especially going home at night, I would come to a four-way stop. And, there's 2 lights here and a turning lane. And I'm looking up and I see 6 lights and 6 cars in front of me. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's a problem. And within a couple of weeks, I had an appointment with an ophthalmologist. And bam, whatever the solution, it was no surgery, just wear glasses. And I'm like, oh, yes, I'm down with it. Now let's talk about what I'm really here to. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. My ophthalmologist said, decision, you need glasses with prisms in them. Oh, yeah, Doc, I'm there. Whew. And Amanda, thank you. Thank you so very much for the steps 1 and 2. Because when I got to the point in my journey of working the steps to make that decision to turn my will and my life over to a God of my understanding, I was absolutely terrified. And I almost truly ran from the rooms. Because you see, the God of my understanding at that point, in my experience, was a terrifying, frightful, mean SOB that didn't give a damn about me. And truth be told, I'm fast forwarding, it was a decision based on self that later placed me in a position to be hurt. That's in our journey. And how I was able to get through that kerfuffle was that I got brave enough. No, that's a lie. I had a drunk bottom that was really, truly beyond my wildest dreams. And like Amanda shared, I shouldn't be here today. I shouldn't be speaking because I didn't know it at the time. I just drank like I always did. And by the way, I was a member of a church. I'm not going to name it, but it's in Salt Lake City. There's a thing called the Word of Wisdom. And alcohol is an excommunicatable offense. And I'm drinking like a fish. But I moved to Florida, so that's woohoo, I can drink every day. And within 2 weeks of moving to Florida, I'm drinking every day. But I remember it was June 16th of 98. And I have a glass of Jackie Boy in my hands. I'd almost drunk the whole fifth. And I got the last little bit, and there's a full moon. I'm half in, half out of my apartment, and I raised the glass, and I don't know why. It had been 10 years since I had really prayed. And I said, and I believe you ladies, this was the first real prayer, even though I had been a Salt Lake City member of a church, that I had prayed in 10 years. And I meant it. God, help me. And I passed out. And I remember as I'm passing out, I looked at a blinking clock, and it said 11:54. I come to. I hurriedly realized, oh my gosh, I got to catch the bus. I'm going to miss the bus because my car had been repoed. I'm in bankruptcy because I got to pay for the alcohol rather than pay my bills. And so I hurriedly get dressed. I get to the bus stop right across the street from my apartment, and I start shaking. I'm sweating profusely, and boom, I'm gone. I come to and think, ooh, I got a brain tumor. And like was so shared by a very beautiful woman before me, I have done the same thing. I have thrown up on myself. I have pooped myself. And I have also not broken my nose, but I have broken blood vessels in my nose, and I've got blood just streaming everywhere. But on top of that, nanner, I have something above Amanda here. I have ants crawling all over me because I had fallen in the crack between the sidewalk cement and the grass. The bus stops. The bus driver knows my name and says, Terry, are you okay? And those of you who've heard me before, you know what I said. And those who haven't, you know what I said, right? I'm fine. And so I get on the bus, all smelly, drippy, poopy me, and I sit on the sideways seat right in the front. And the poor bus driver, as I'm driving, he's driving the bus, not me. Sorry. Oh, I'm breathing. He's contortioning to try to warn the new people getting on the bus what they are going to encounter. And the poor people, they smell me before they see me. And they, by the time I get from my little apartment on Aloma to Lake Eola in Orlando, so every single person on that bus is in the back of the bus, sitting on each other's laps, and they're holding people in the aisle to keep away from me. And this, I want to remember, this is the best decision I could make at that point in my life. I picked up those drinks. Me. I self-me. Isms. I had isms and didn't know it. I could not drink. And when the bus stops, I get up, and I really want to remember this. Everyone in that bus stood up and applauded. That's the best I could do with where I was. You see, I needed those drinks. I couldn't stop. I had annihilated everything. You also I became a drunk driver, with your help. I also, as was shared, I became a public peer too. It just was like, you feel what you feel and you want what you want and you do what you do. It wasn't just picking up the drink. It was that everything in my life was about me. It was about how I interpreted it, what I thought. And what I want to share very, very briefly is stuff that it did not make me drink. I drank like I did and became an alcoholic because, like was shared, I have an obsession of the mind that no alcohol in me, and I want that drink. Then I take a drink. I have an allergy once, too many, 1,000 isn't enough. And I drink to death. I almost did. And I'm one of those drinkers that drinks to oblivion. I didn't want the in-between, the fuzzies, the buzzies. I wanted oblivion. I wanted to die. I don't know, some of you are so young. You're very young. I love it. I love it that you're here. I was an old fart, but I made it. But there's a movie out there, Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage. Oof. I tried to drink myself to death just like Nicolas Cage. And I am very, very happy to report today I failed miserably. I couldn't even kill myself. But very briefly, I grew up in an alcoholic home in a lot of chaos. My dad was a prisoner of war, came back in multiple personality, and I was the victim. I was the child that he took out everything he had experienced in the prisoner of war camp. And I was abused every way you can possibly imagine. And I made a decision as a little kid that there was going to be nobody to save me, that I had to save myself. And at the time, when I tried to, I paid dearly, but I did it anyway. So I'm not mad at that little girl. She was brilliant. We survived because of that little girl thinking my mom was a cartoon character when she is drunk chasing me down the hall with a butcher knife because I have thrown away her stash, because daddy's going to be mad. But it's not really becoming in a 20-year-old and a 30-year-old. I don't have the ability to stop time or change things. And I am so proud of that little girl. She was brilliant. But I made decisions based on myself that truly I had no foundation, cornerstone, or keystone in my life, because I believed that God just let this happen, that there was something wrong with me and I deserved to hurt that way. And so when I picked up my first drink, which Bill O in Orlando calls the golden moment, I had that. I had the golden moment. Nothing could hurt again if I had oblivion. And I sought that golden moment for 10 years. And I didn't know that usually most alcoholics only get one. And I was gonna have that. I was gonna have it. And I nearly died looking for it. So that decision based on self, chasing the golden moment, drink, nearly losing my job. I work today at the place that I drank for 2 years. I will be celebrating 29 years there. 29 years. The things I did drunk, I deserve to never be able to walk through those doors again. Public peeing. I was sitting one day, I knew I was on the commode. I could feel it, and I just did. I'm sitting at my desk in front of my computer with all my coworkers around. I took that chair and I hid it up in an attic in the hollowed halls of where I work. So that's another story for another step, but I did make an amends about the icky chair our building services had to find. It's just neat. We get to clean up that. But I work for construction lawyers, and I have been allowed the privilege of now being a paralegal for these men and women. Do I deserve it? I don't know, but I'm there. I'm doing my job today. But forgive the construction analogy here. I had no foundation, I had no cornerstone, I had no keystone in my life. Because I had made decisions as a little girl that I carried with me until I started drinking, and then, oh boy, Jackie boy, I found a lover like I have never found before. They didn't care whether I lived or died, but I didn't care either, because I got oblivion. So, without having a firm foundation in my life, and maybe many of you know, without a good, well-built foundation, there is no structural strength for the building. And let's look at this as our lives. If I don't have a foundation, what am I standing on? My own ideas? And how is that working? And it provides stability and support. And I look back at my drinking, there wasn't much stability, none whatsoever. Now, a cornerstone isn't used much today. It's more when it's older, they do it more with those wonderful lights and different things. But a cornerstone becomes sort of the mathematical place where everything gets aligned. Because could you imagine sitting in here and everything's kind of this way, wobbly, going whichever way, and that, let's say a hurricane comes here in Florida? We don't have those. If it's not structurally sound and it's not aligned, the whole wall's going to come down. Then we get to the keystone, which I think is so beautiful because that is mentioned in step 3. A new and triumphant arc through which we pass to freedom. Steps 1, 2, and 3 are so important. They aren't a one-time wonder. 100%, I'm committed to step 1. I am powerless over alcohol. My life is unmanageable. And I must do that perfectly every day. Steps 2 and 3, I'm growing, I'm trying, I'm doing. But without the foundation of steps 1, 2, and 3, I am not going to have the ability to surrender and grow and be willing to do what it takes to do the rest of the steps. What we do is not easy. But you guys, it's so very, very simple. And after I got off that bus, I called the hotline. Thank God for you guys who volunteer. Because I had no clue that I was an alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm just an abused kid. You were there. You answered that hotline. I went to my first AA meeting on June 17th, 1998, and I haven't had a drink since. I had no intentions of not drinking. I went to that meeting, and you were there. You took one look at me. You smelled me. You knew. You knew. I was so terrified. And when it came, I don't know what was said. I just remember you offering a white chip, and I don't know what that is. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to sit here in the chair, and I'm leaving. Well, you guys picked me up, and you dragged me, and you put the white chip in my hand. And you said, welcome, please come back. Then you did something else. You invited me to another meeting. And you guys were so kind. I went back. I don't know why. I'm not an alcoholic. That's not my problem. My dad's was my problem. God's my problem. And bring this up because it's God as we understand him in the third step. And you see, the God I understood was very frightening and freaky. And you opened the door for me to experience genuine kindness for the first time in a long time. And I went back to this meeting. It was a speaker meeting. Lo and behold, Diane R. was the speaker, and she told my story. And I was stunned. How can anyone know what I'm feeling? How can anyone know? And I sit here tonight. I'm sorry, I'm Terry, hi. You guys know. You guys know the pain of a drunk, the humiliation, the stuff we're drinking to bury and never feel again. And I don't know that I can't stop. Diane talked about all those things, and then I'm invited back on Saturday, and you did something else really beautiful. I'm sitting there, and I'm starting to, I haven't had a drink in, that was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What's that, like three and a half days? I'm shaking. I'm really not well. I don't know I'm going through alcohol withdrawals, and I'm sweating. And all of a sudden, a beautiful woman named Carmen, Spanish Carmen, for those of you who know her, all of a sudden says, Terry, the doors are locked, and they aren't being opened till you choose a sponsor. Oh, you guys are evil. I wanted to crawl out a window, but I was so shaky I couldn't. And so I closed my eyes, and I felt this woman take my hand, and I said, Diane, would you be my sponsor? And I felt someone kiss my cheek, and she said, yes, dear. Yes. And Diane was my sponsor for 2 years until she doggone it moved. No, it was about a year before she doggone it moved. But the cool thing is that she got me through the steps. And what she did is in that making a decision. She helped me understand the foundation, the cornerstone, the keystone. And then being convinced. We are at step 3. Being convinced of what? That I'm alcoholic and I can't manage my own life, that probably no human power can restore me to sanity, and that God couldn't would if he was sought. Well, I had a problem with God couldn't would if he were sought. And she knew it because of the work we had done through steps 1 and 2. Duh. I told her the truth. For the first time, I told someone the truth, what was going on in between here and here. So, she knew I had a problem with God, and she understood why I had a problem with God. So I get an assignment. Do any of you get assignments from your sponsors? How many of you do the things your sponsor actually asks you? Yeah, I did it. Yeah. And she gave me the oddest instruction. And she said, Terry, I know you have tomorrow off. I really don't care what your plans are. And she was such a sweet lady till you were sponsored by her. She said, you are going to go to Cocoa Beach. Oh, okay, I can do that. Not New Smyrna, because that's the place that was the scene of crime. No, Cocoa Beach, and you, my dear, are going to go stop a wave. What is she? Insane? She goes, don't ask me questions. Just go do it. And call me after. I thought, okay, all right. So I get my little self, and I get to Cocoa, and I'm so grateful. It was a very gray, rainy day, and there was nobody there. And so I'm going out into the ocean, and I'm trying to stop a wave. I'm getting angrier and angrier because those damn waves won't stop. And they're just up my nose and everywhere, and I'm full of junk and sand and this. And after, I don't know how long, I'm from California. I used to surf when I was 9, and I totally forgot that. And all of a sudden, this perfect wave comes, and I said it again. God, help me. And I just surrendered and body surfed. The most beautiful body surf a human being could ever. And I felt it. I felt that decision that there is a power greater than me. It might have been a wave, but thanks God for showing up like a wave. And I got to the shore, and I cried. Are you surprised? I just wept. And I thought, okay, God, if you can be a little like that, okay, I'll try. I'm going to try. I'm going to try to trust you. Then a few weeks later, she doesn't give up. I'm at a spiritual retreat, command performance, and I'm doing a command of everybody there. It just wasn't me, to take a meditative walk through the woods and just try and talk to God. And I start running, not walking. I'm not very good at directions yet. I'm running through the woods, and I don't know why, but my prayer was, God, please, please, please change my heart. Please, God, please. And I'm running through the forest, and I don't know that it's going to happen. I know there's something terribly wrong with me, and I want to get better. God, please change my heart. And we were given an hour. Well, I go sweaty running back, and she's sitting all, I don't know if any of you know Diane Ryan. She had an elf smile, and she's sitting there on the bench at the clubhouse, and she's just waiting for me. And she goes like this, and I sit down on the bench, and she says, Terry, here's a song. I said, cool. And she goes, I want you to memorize the words. Okay. And tonight, after we have dinner, you're going to get up in front of everyone tonight and sing that song. I said, Diane, I can't. And she said, why? I said, because Mrs. Blundell in junior high school gave me an A for effort in choir, but told me to sing softly. Another secret out of the bag. And she said, we don't care how you sound, honey. The words to that song were, God, change my heart. You are the potter. I am the clay. God, change my heart. My sponsor was not running through the woods with me. How did she know? I came to believe. She helped me see how I needed to choose door number 3. I, at 4 years old, became my God. And I thought God was mean and didn't like me. Then Jackie Boy became my God. And she said, you have been given grace. How about you choose door number 3? You help me with the key of willingness. That's all it took. The willingness to change my mind that maybe God is not what I understood. That what I believed alcohol was doing for me was a lie. Maybe everything I thought about life was a lie. I was fitting life to my purpose, and I did not know, as it says on page 62, selfishness, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our problem. From the time I was 4 years old, it all revolved around me. I was always so afraid in school that everybody would find out that I was a freak, that what my dad had done and I deserved it. I knew you'd hate me. Grew up in LA. They didn't need much to beat you up after school. And so I learned to be a chameleon, to people please. So you wouldn't hurt me. I was hurting enough. It was decisions based on self. That, what does it say, later placed me in a position to be hurt. And through you, I learned the good news. The best news for me as a dying, suffering alcoholic. So, our troubles, we think, are of our own making. I have made a decision based on self that is later placing me in a position to be hurt. It took the gates of death almost for me to submit to something other than my idea. And my sponsor helped me understand, because the next part says, first of all, we had to quit playing God. I couldn't understand that. How did I play God? Aha, Terry. Haven't we just discovered that through this journey of 1 and 2? Remember how I talked about foundation, cornerstone? Now I'm building an ark. I need a keystone. You know what a keystone does? You've seen the St. Louis Arch. You go through arches everywhere. Arches are built. You've got to have the keystone. Without it, the ark fails. It cannot sustain the weight above. How beautiful this is written. I need that keystone so that I can bear the weight of life. because I proved I couldn't do it. Me playing God, how did I do it? I wanted to know always the end of a movie before I saw it, because if it ended good and you could deal with all the crap in the middle, my family won't tell me now. They won't tell me the end of movies. My daughters go, "You're in recovery. You don't get to know the end." I wanted to know the last chapter of a book before I read it. Is that me trying to control? I wanted it to end happy. But there's some books, I tell you, ladies, if you try to read the last chapter and you do, it doesn't make any sense at all. Because you don't know the journey. You don't understand it. There's all kinds of things like that. I was paralyzed. I wouldn't step anywhere until I knew it was safe. I married a guy, God bless him. He needs an Olympic medal. I married him because my dad was scared of him. And I hid all the stuff from him. And when it came out, it was just too much for him. It was too much for him to bear. And so I blamed him for many, many years. He was another God. He left me. He disappointed me. See, I'm worthless. And through this program, one of the most beautiful things that recently in my life, eventually, this is a man I wanted dead. Thought about getting hitmen, but never did, thank goodness. Because I volunteered at 33rd, and I know what it's like in there, and I'm so glad. Amanda, I'm so glad you never had to go. Because, it's really nice to go there, and then they let you leave. Because I've heard the inmates steal each other's toilet paper. Oh, dear. And all kinds of other things. So, I'm just so grateful for the experience of growing through and taking our experience and what it leads to in our lives, which is more than I could have ever orchestrated, ever. This man I wanted dead several years ago, maybe 5 years ago, remarried. Wife number 3, I was wife number 1. We won't talk about wife number 2. She, a little psycho. But Dawn was a love. Dawn and I became really good friends. And never in my wildest dreams did I know that one day, this March, I sat in intensive care with my ex-husband and her family holding her hand while she passed. She was an angel, and she loved me. I would never have had the privilege to have someone like Dawn in my life. And I never would have tried because she was with my ex-husband who didn't deserve to be loved and cared for and, blah. Anyway, my thinking was so warped. But today I live my life in honor of a beautiful woman who knew how to give freely of herself, and she didn't have to come to Alcoholics Anonymous to learn how. She just did it. She just did it. These are the types of relationships with all of you that I can have, and that, that keystone that helps me. We are reborn. And Amanda touched on that. Carl Jung, thank God for Carl Jung, gave us the information that I needed complete psychic change. I need new ideas, thoughts, attitudes, and emotions. And I couldn't do it. I can't. God can. How about I let him? Because when I look at the facts, that the steps, with the guidance of my sponsor, getting to meetings, listening to you, I'm looking at the facts. I'm not looking at what I believe or what I think or my opinion. The facts are, Terri, look what happened. Look at your last drunk. I later came to find out through service work, 12-step call, someone asked me to share that bottom. There was a doctor present. He was at a convention. He pulls me aside after. So I told the whole bus, the poo-poo and everything. And he pulled me aside. He said, Terri, I think it's funny you thought you had a brain tumor. And I said, well, it's just my alcohol level went down too fast, just what I've thought for 5 years. He said, no, sweetheart, I'm a neurologist. I went, oh, you're really smart. And he said, Terri, you had an alcoholic grand mal seizure. I went, what? What's that? Really? I didn't know you could have that. And you do not have one more in you. You drink again, you die. What a miracle, I'm here. I did not know that I was at death's door. I was ready before I raised that glass and I said, God help me. I did not know I was dying. There was no pretend anymore. So how June 17th of 98 became my sobriety date when I didn't believe I was an alcoholic and I didn't think that was the problem. It was my dad, my life, and you guys. But I got a kit of spiritual tools laid at my feet. And because I saw the problem solved in you, I had nothing left but to pick up that kit of spiritual tools myself. You knew how scared I was. But you stood firm and loving and kind. And I took steps 1, 2, and 3. If any of you would like to right now, just take a breath. And if we could say the 3rd step prayer together. And I want you to understand something here and see something. Maybe your sponsor has pointed this out to you. After this prayer, there's no amen. Amen means the end. Amen means it's so. My step 3 prayer that I prayed back in 98 is still active. There's no amen. I get to grow in my understanding. I get to grow in the prayer, relieve me of the bondage of self. Bill knew that my conscious contact with God, of my understanding, as I changed and grow, or I change and grow through working these steps, my understanding of God needs to grow and change too. I get a new understanding. I got it today for spending the day with each of you. God bless all of you. You've been angels in my life today. So those who wish, please say the 3rd step prayer with me now. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. God bless you. You are a room full of the most beautiful women in the world. Thank you so much.